Hi, my name is Jennifer Walker. I'm giving my Module 1 presentation for ALTC 804, Understanding the Learner on Child Development. My presentation is called Child and Adult Development because I really saw from our readings the idea that growth is not just something that happens in childhood. We actually go through a lifetime of growth from birth to death. So, just like a tree can grow to be about 100 years old, so too can we humans. Robert Sigler, even in his article about cognitive development in childhood, even mentions that cognitive development refers to the development of thinking across the lifespan. So, not just in childhood. We continue to grow well beyond our adolescence. Chapter 9 is about lifespan development, and it talks about how the process of human growth and development is more obvious in infancy and childhood. Yet your development is happening this moment and will continue minute by minute for the rest of your life. I really liked this quote because it seemed to acknowledge the idea that we can definitely see growth and learning happening a lot more in childhood than we do in the older ages. And that might just be because growth is happening so much quicker during childhood. The great ascent from life to death can, I noticed it really seems to be a habit of ours to break it down into stages and cycles. And one question that comes forward when we do this breaking down into stages is, are these stages continuous or discontinuous? So, are they continuous as in it's more of a gradual change? So, you can't really see the change happening, it's little by little, or is it discontinuous? So, can you see drastic changes happening in people, almost as like a new identity comes forward? And really, in taking in the readings, it seemed to me that this question was essentially unsolvable. So, in a way, both of them can and maybe both are true at the same time. So, maybe we go through a continuous movement through stages, but also a discontinuous where we can see the changes happening. One thing that I think really supports this idea that there isn't really one continuous or discontinuous stage is that just the existence of how many different theories of this nature there are. There are so many theories that break them down into cycles and stages. So here's a graphic that shows the continuous versus the discontinuous life cycle. Now, I thought this was a little bit interesting because this graphic on this side kind of ignores the fact that trees lose their leaves each year. So that's definitely a sort of discontinuous change that we can see. So even just that fact can kind of point us into what I'm trying to say, that you can't really say if it's continuous or discontinuous. So, yes, as we progress through our life, we do renew ourselves kind of like a snake sheds its skin as we move through different identities. Piaget's theories and Freud's, in this respect, only tell a partial story because they kind of tend to break down the childhood stages and they ignore any adult stages. I think Freud gets into that a little bit more, but Piaget, his final theory is his final stage is the age 11 and 12, which is the formal reasoning stage, or it's something like that. It goes from, but that one goes from age 12 into adulthood. So clearly there's a lot being left out with that. Yet again, what do all these theories have in common? That they break life down into stages. I thought this was an interesting quote because here we have the stages even broken down into separate categories of stages. So, psychologists view development as a lifelong process that can be studied scientifically across three developmental domains: physical, cognitive, and psychosocial. So, just like the toddler and infant are growing and learning to walk, we go through physical changes as we get into old age where we have to adapt to the aging body. The same with cognitive. The toddler is learning to talk. And as we get into old age, there's been a lot of research on preventing dementia and preventing memory loss by keeping the brain active. And then lastly, that psychosocial development has to do with almost like life stages. So you can imagine the grandparent is quite a different emotional stage than the parent. So these different identities that we go through as almost like the snake skin I mentioned earlier. So here are the closing thoughts on these notions of stages and cycles. What does this really mean for us as educators? Well, first of all, I think and I believe that growth is key to sustaining life. That if we don't grow throughout our entire lives, that it will compromise our life and it could even bring death quicker. So I think that sustaining our growth can actually extend our lifespan if we all continue growing and learning throughout the entire lifespan. And that growth, it's always centered around our age, our life achievements, family roles, our professional standing. And then in the end, it's also a lot about our emotions and our thoughts moment by moment. We also need to remember as educators that growth is happiness. Growth gives us happiness. Learning is growth. So in our schools, we really need learning environments should always promote growth and learning most of all. We shouldn't focus too much on punishing punishing bad behaviors and more on finding ways to promote good behavior. So giving lots of opportunities for growth and learning, as many as we can, as many as we need, so that every kid has something to use for their own advantage, whatever we need to do to nurture them. Give students what they need to grow. Give them plenty of things to get involved with in school and out of school, and give them lots of programs. Give them your ear when they need it. Just focus on the nurturing, just as flowers need water. These are the essential things that children need to grow into adults. Here are my works cited. I did get some images from Google, so those are not mine. They belong to other people. All right. Thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great start to your semester. Happy September to you.